some of you may have seen that PS5 Pro got announced yesterday, and I'm sure many of you are thinking, "Oh goodness, I hope Josh announces something that takes advantage of all that technology and like pushes tech to its extreme, path-based ray tracing." And I'm not going to give you any of that because no, uh, you need to temper your expectations for graphics. But what I have done is I've been making a game using Renpy to teach law. So I'm going to attach the actual distributable files in the chat in a moment. I'm going to show off how it all works in a second anyway. But if you want to download it and have a go at the current build of it at some point, then feel free. I'm attaching the PC version and the Mac version, but I can also make distributions for Android, iPhones, Linux if you really want. The file itself is very, very small. It's 60 meg, I think, for each of them, which makes it nice and easy to distribute in general. It's one of the advantages of a relatively small visual novel style game is that it's easy to distribute. You can put it on Minerva, you can send it out to people. I'm sending it as a zip file, so if you download it, you just got to extract it and then launch the executable. But for now, I will share my screen and show you what's going on with the visual novel stuff. Okay, so Renpy itself is a game engine like Unreal Engine or any of the other game engines that people use these days, but it's specifically for visual novels. And visual novels, for those of you who haven't played any of them, effectively they're games primarily focused around telling a story, but with images that move and do stuff. And when you're trying to teach things, you don't want to get people too bogged down in the like the complexity of something like a Gears of War or a Halo or something like that. You want to focus on telling a narrative, getting the story across in order to get the learning materials across as quickly as possible. So I'm just going to launch it up now. Um, okay, so hopefully you can see uh, the screen that's just popped up. So all of the assets and everything in this game, um, I've I've created or I got my fiance to create for me for this project. Particularly, a lot of the artwork is done by her because I am not a great artist. But the idea here is that I'm making um, a series of files available to everyone as soon as it's done that just make it as easy as possible to reuse these assets and make your own version of this game for whatever you want to create. So this is Prudence Joris. She's the character with the kind of big balls on her head. The other characters on the screen, we've got Policy on the right, who is the kind of opposing lawyer, and you've got Judge Josh in the middle, who's the representation of me, who kind of guides things along. You can see that you can probably hear this the music in the background as well, which is the Prudence Juris theme, and we've got little buttons to start the game or load the game or mess with the settings if you want louder or quieter music. So if I press the start button, in terms of making visual novels in general, um, hyperbole and increased stakes are always a useful thing. So I start off the game with like a cataclysmic style. If we don't do good law stuff, the earth will crumble and we'll all be doomed. Um, Overall, because I'm teaching EU law through this particular one, it focuses on the single market. And over the course of a few scenarios, because I'm doing different cases, if any of you played Ace Attorney, you know that the levels are effectively a different case each time. And over the course of those cases, the um, the overarching story of why somebody would want to disrupt the internal market kind of comes to fruition. And in this particular story, I've basically got an evil investment banker investing in derivatives who's trying to mess with the single market, shall we say. So, needlessly large stakes. As you can see, we get to the court. Um, for those of you who are like big into EU law, I imagine not many people. um, I have simplified the court structure for the purposes of this game because we're concerned with legal issues rather than the actual practicing of it. So instead of 3 judges for this one, we're just using single judge because it's a bit easier in terms of a narrative sense. But as you can see, we've got different characters popping onto screen when they have things to say, and we've got the text popping up underneath them. And there we go, we've got the judge there as well. You might have seen that it says new entry unlocked occasionally at the top. Now, what I've done is, because one thing that I absolutely hate in video games is if you have to leave the video game for any reason to go do something else. Like, if there's information that's not there, it can really pull you out of it. And particularly with a visual novel, that's not what you want to do. You want to keep people engaged with the thing. So, because quite a bit of this involves cases and law, and it's supposed to be teaching law, things like that, whenever you get a bit further in the game, you'll get kind of questions, like either the opposing lawyer will pose questions or the judge will pose questions, and you're going to need to answer those questions. But because they're about specific aspects of law, you might not know it off the top of your head. But I've thought of this, right? So I've added this blue button up here, which is an encyclopedia. And you can click on either cases or treaties or just characters in the game, and it'll give you information about those things. So we got a bit of information about the judge, got information about that's what Article 34 TFEU is, got stuff about cases. Just the information that you might need is in the game. So you don't have to leave it, you can just stay involved in it. If you do need to take a break from the case anyway, there is a save button and there's a quick save button, and it will save locally onto your system so you can come back to it whenever you want. But a kind of key gameplay element of these games is the choices that you make, and the choices alter the story itself. As you can see, there's also little voices for some of the characters as well, just to kind of give it that extra I also try and ensure that there's lots of jokes going through the game as well, just to keep people engaged with it, because you want people to feel attached to the characters as much as possible. So at this point, we get a new box appearing in the top right of the screen, which says judge displeasure equals 0. I'm going to change that into something a bit more aesthetic later on, but for the time being, that does the job. And then at this question, you only get 2 possible answers. You get the correct one, which is this top one, everything knows physical tangible characteristics, as in the Commission v Italy and Gustafsson cases, and the incorrect one, erotic novels are valued in money and can be subject to commercial transactions. The first bit is correct, but the Article 49 bit is wrong. So we've got 2 possible answers, and the students will hopefully need to think about this. They're probably not going to know immediately what these cases are unless they're paying attention a lot in class, which if they have, great. If not, they've got an option to learn it right now by going to the encyclopedia. So let's put the wrong answer in just for a moment so you can see what happens. And you get a sassy response from Polly, and then judge displeasure goes up. And what I've done with the system at the moment is effectively I've created this bit of code in the background. I'll bring up my code page. So this is what the code looks like that I've written to make this game. And I've got a setting here called judgy anger. And judgy anger is the judge's displeasure thing. And as it goes up, that means you're doing worse in the case because you've given more wrong answers. If it stays low, that means you're doing well. And what I'm probably going to do in the final version is I'll have it as a health bar. So when you get more questions wrong, your health bar goes down. But in terms of coding, it's much easier to have that number go up. So that's what I've done. And ultimately, whatever your number is will determine what ending you get for the case. So if you do well, you get a good ending and you probably win the case. If you do badly and get a lot of questions wrong, you get the bad ending. And you're encouraged to try the game again. effectively, to make sure you do it right next time. So if I put the right answer in this time, it advances the story, and we start getting different questions. And this time we've got 4 possible answers to make it a bit more difficult on different points. Now, the correct answer to this one is quantitative restriction, but I also have an answer which is just a stupid one, which, I mean, nobody's honestly going to put this answer as a serious, like, I think this is the right one kind of thing. So if they do, I don't necessarily award negative points for those ones. It's just kind of like, if you want to see a bit of story of people being weird about things, then you can choose that. And as you can see, it's not increased the number. But if you get the right answer, again, carries on, and we get some different animations from the characters. I've got some different kind of text styles happening to kind of, again, bring that bit more attention to it. And because this is still a demo version of the game, it's not the full version just yet. I've not finished the story because I've been building the kind of framework of it to make sure it actually functions, and it's very easy to code, and I'll show why it's easy to code in a moment. But the game effectively ends a little after this particular question. So if I put that one in, we get the good ending because we've got judge displeasure of 1. If we would have got more questions wrong, we would have had a judge displeasure of 2 or higher, and then you would have got the bad ending. And then once you finish the game, it just goes back to the kind of main screen. So you can start again, you can load it, you can mess with the settings again if you want to play a bit more. But I'll just close that down for a second. As you can see in the code box, for those of you who aren't aware, this is Visual Code Studio, but you can use whatever text editor you want really for this. This just nicely color codes things for me. Notepad will do the job if you wanted to edit it. Most of the story stuff, and the only real file that people will need to edit in order to create their own version of this, is script.rpy, which is, as it sounds, the script for the story. Now, what I've been creating is effectively a way of just immediately calling certain actions. And because I've transferred this over to from another computer to this computer, it looks a bit more complicated than it originally looks. And when you get the final version, it won't look quite as complicated. All you'll need to do to bring up a certain image is write call and then a particular keyword to bring up a particular type of image. And I'll make a quick sheet which shows the different images that you can use. But prunorm is just jurisprudence looking fairly nonplussed, not particularly weird. CNorm is policy looking a bit normal. And you've got judge norm for him looking a bit normal as well. And it'll cut to the right background. It cuts to any particular sounds associated with that particular action. And if you want to make it even easier on yourself, you don't even need to do that particularly, because what I've done is each character has a letter associated with them as a character. So we've got Prudence Joris is associated with the letter J. So you just write the letter J and then put what you want her to say in these inverted commas, and she will say that thing, and she will appear on the screen and she'll say that. For S, we've got policy, and for S, put the thing in, she'll appear, she'll say the words. B, the judge will appear and he'll say the words as well. So in essence, it's supposed to be simple at the point of trying to change it into being something else. As I say, I've done most of the more difficult stuff. And if you understand Python, if you've got any background in that, then Renpy is very easy in terms of the back end of stuff, just because it's Python. Like, it runs on Python. If you want to have a specific Python code, you just put in a $sign and it will run whatever Python code you want, really. But otherwise, it works on an adjusted version of Python, and it's still pretty straightforward. But yeah, that's the game. So I hope people think it looks nice. I hope that's been enjoyable. But if you have any questions, then I'm happy to answer whatever.